What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, episode 25. I am joined by Con and Big Al. What's going on, boys? Everyone doing good?
Very good. Very
Good,
good.
mate. All good.
What time is it there, Alex?
We have to start every single time, don't we?
Just started with
6:30
it.
p.m., mate.
6:30
6:30 p.m.
p.m.
I think this is my first time on the podcast.
Return.
I think it's the
Well,
first pod I've
you've
done.
been on before, but it's not been for a while. Just timings wise, it's not really
I
worked out.
think it was in person back in the day. But no, good to be here, mate. Good to be here. All good.
Con,
Certainly
how's
a better
the?
time than what you had to get up to yesterday, mate. Was it 4 a.m.?
Oh yeah,
Mate, it's time difference does me in for 6 months of the year because so we
4
Carl and I
a.m.
do a live ICM call and
Yeah.
it's 7 p.m. in the UK, which is 4 a.m. for me, which is ropey. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not too bad though. You know what? You know what I find? Being up and about at that time is actually okay. But once I'm up, I have a shower, I have a coffee, and normally, because normally one of us is presenting, so it's all right. So you kind of like talking away. The worst bit is when it gets to like 10, 11 a.m. and
Yeah.
I'm ready for bed. And my day's done. What was it on? It was Tuesday. So Tuesday I got up, got some work done, went and trained. Probably got to the gym for like 7. It felt really good, and then just crashed for the second half.
Yeah.
I got to like maybe just for 8 o'clock, and I was just absolutely in the bin. You know when you kind of get like a bit like overstimmed and a bit overtired, and you just feel sick. And I was just like, nah, this isn't the one.
I
Came
think
back with a nap.
the earlier you do get up, the more alert you feel, but you do crash harder.
Yeah,
If I was to
100%.
get up at 4 or 5 o'clock tomorrow, I'd be wired for the first couple of hours. But then that would dramatically tail off.
Yeah, yeah, mate, it's rough. How's your sleep at the minute? Because obviously you're what 5 weeks out. Are you
My
an early
sleep,
man?
got to be honest with you, mate, my sleep's very good. Very good.
Mm,
Um, Timing of meals and things like that. Obviously, we've been able to keep food high this prep.
mm,
So, having adequate amounts of fats in particular
mm.
before bed seems to be, really aiding sleep. I've not had any issues with sleep at all thus far. This has been the most seamless prep I've had yet. Been the best.
yeah, mate, good.
Uh,
Have you
so
done anything different for that to be the case, or is it just the case of
I
stars
think
aligned?
I think Yeah, I think there are going to be some small tweaks. My organisation has always been exceptional, but I've doubled down on it now.
Mm,
Um, like I said, being able to run food higher, I think that helps massively psychologically.
mm,
Um, and I think just having the right mindset. I think this year it's been interesting. 2023 was for myself, a very high pressured situation.
Mm.
Put a lot of pressure on myself to turn pro and then start working with ProCoach a month later. That's what I envisioned, and that's what I made happen. But there was a lot of pressure come with that. This year, I'm living I'm living my dream. I'm living my dream. I'm literally living my dream. So there's not so much internal pressure, and I think that's making a massive difference. I'm actually enjoying more what I'm doing.
Mm.
So I think there are some psychological elements to it, but then there are also the fact that food's much higher as well. So maybe a
yeah,
bit
you're
of
actually
both.
able to think and function rather than.
Exactly. And we've got into a position now where we're probably 3, maybe 4 pounds away from where we need to be, which is
Yeah,
absolutely fuck all.
yeah.
We're talking glutes only. Hamstrings are
Mm,
stripping out as we speak. So yeah, it's been good. It's been good.
awesome, awesome, good, mate. Glad to hear it.
Thank you.
Um, Lead magnet coming up, Con.
Yeah.
Also, if you look down at my computer screen now, you'll see my hands are covered in fucking blisters, right? I've got a blister pretty much on every single one of my fingers at the moment, so I can't type. Because yesterday I got a full bag of clubs fitted, and I had to hit 178 balls in a golf sim to align all the clubs to my like mechanics and structure. And honestly, I
Yeah.
was there for about 6 hours. By the end of it, I was absolutely fucked.
No gloves.
No, I was wearing the left glove, but
Yeah.
I
It's
still
the
got
right.
blisters on the one that I was wearing a glove on and my right. Like blister here, blister on both my fingers here, blister on my fucking thumb.
You have a full set fitted.
Full every club, yeah.
Oof.
in Scottsdale and Birmingham. Well, the only one
Yeah.
that was easy was the putter. Like the putter, they don't really custom make it. You just pick something off the shelf and just find something that feels good.
Yeah.
But the other clubs, it's like they
What putter did you decide to go for? Have you ever seen Adam Scott use his putter?
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
So it's a short, yeah. So it's a short putter then.
it's a square to square Odyssey Cruiser.
Yeah.
But it's
What's
nice.
your
It's long. It's
what's
longer
your
than
driver?
it's longer than my other one. My driver is a Titleist GT2 was the best one, and then irons I got. Well, the fucking annoying thing was basically the irons I was basically using. The biggest thing for me was because my clubs are too short at the moment. They extended the shaft of the clubs, which made a massive difference. They increased the size of the grip, which made a massive
Yeah.
difference because the club face wasn't shifting as much when I swung. But the stiffness of the shaft and the weight of the shaft made a big difference. And the guy, this is so funny because the guy was like, look, he was like, for your own sake, I'm going to give you this shaft because the next shaft is twice as much money and I'd like this shaft to work. And I was absolutely rubbish with the cheap shaft. And it was like, I'm sorry to say this, but you're going to have to use the next shaft. And then as soon as I hit the next shaft, every ball was like, bing, bing, bing. And I was
Yeah.
like, fuck. So we got like, they're called like Exium or Axiom graphite shafts, which were like twice as much money, but the difference it made was like insane.
I think the stiffer the shaft. I think when you're like an amateur just starting, you want a real flexible shaft, don't you? I think as you move through and you play off scratch or whatever, the shaft gets a lot
the way he
stiffer.
explained it was like if you're used to like handling heavier stuff or like training with heavier loads, like you're used to like proprioception wise, you're used to having something in your hand that you can feel. And with a
Right.
lighter club, if there's more whip, like if I was
Yeah.
swinging with more like swing speed and ball speed, like if you can't feel the club come down,
Yeah.
it's very
Yeah.
hard to like find connection with the ball.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas as soon as the club head and the shaft was heavier, like the amount of difference it made was insane. So, mate, it's like a fucking science. It blew my mind. Like all the analytics on the screen was absolutely crazy. Like it's so impressive to see. Um, but yeah, that was at Scottsdale in Birmingham. It's guy was really useful, spot on.
I think the
Enough
Belfry
golf
are
though.
having I think
Say
the
again.
Belfry are they're having an update at the moment.
Yeah, they're building a big spa there, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Big massive spa, and they've also built a massive new hotel on that left hand
Yeah.
side of the front
Yeah,
entrance.
that's right. Yeah.
Um, Lead magnet wise, cons in prep.
Yes.
We wanted to bring something out that um, ultimately service the other side. I don't think we really speak about much in terms of psychology, or as potentially not as much as we could. And
Yeah.
even something that me and Al have spoken about in length with the ICM with non-competitive clients. I think for competitive clients, it's even more of an apparent thing when you look at successful, particularly contest prep, because that's kind of like the you know we all see when clients on board and you're in a position where a client wants to prep, like if you're not consciously aware of that from a coach's perspective, you're almost analyzing their readiness to do it in the first place based on where their psychology is at the moment and how ready they are to commit to that process. And I think a coach that's done it before probably has a slightly better understanding of that in the first place because you've gone through the ropes of having those challenges face to face yourself and you understand that process. So talk me through
I think
where your head was at in terms of creating that, and also why
yeah,
you feel as though it's so valuable to talk about.
I think we can all agree, to be fair. I think we know whether a client's going to last the duration of a prep within the first 4 to
100%.
6 weeks.
Yeah.
I think the importance of it is definitely underspoken. I think it's paramount to have a strong mindset, especially not just in a prep scenario. Even if you're dieting for a photo shoot, that prep itself, that diet phase can get pretty gnarly. I think it's important to have a strong mindset. I think it's underspoken. It's something that I do want to bring to the forefront more and more and more. You can give an athlete all the tools. You can be the best coach in the world. You literally can be. But if your client hasn't got the right mindset to apply that, you're done.
Yeah.
Your athlete's not stepping on stage in the best shape possible. It's as simple as that. So it underpins everything. And I've always believed that. I've always believed that with myself. I think it's quite niche for me. It's something that I've always believed that I've got a very, very strong mindset when it comes to, dieting for competitions through experience more than anything, really.
Yeah.
Being in them trenches, earning them hard yards, it does make you stronger. It does make you more durable. So it's just something that, I wanted to bring to the forefront. Separated it into 3 different sections, separated it into more of a pre-prep phase. So we went into a little bit of expectations, how we can prepare ourselves for, the hardships that prep's going to bring. I say hardship loosely. Then we go intra-prep, so what to expect as we get in towards them sort of latter stages, how to overcome them obstacles. And then I think the biggest one that people don't understand, talk about, prepare for is post-prep.
Yeah.
Because this is where you can either make this an extremely productive phase, or it can be an absolute disaster and put you off prepping for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Simple as that. So they're the 3 steps. I think each video is going to be, roughly around 5 or 6 minutes long. And it's going to give you a good insight into how I've, navigated preps. And, I think it's a big contributing factor as to why I'm in the position that I'm in, really.
Yeah. And that's, you probably say that has been, the longer you've done that and the more kind of skin you've got in the game, the more that mindset has been kind of molded and refined into where it is now.
Yes, for sure. For sure. I think I've naturally always had a strong mindset, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right way to put it. You will see people that are more prone to being able to stick it out when food's low and it gets tough. But it is certainly, I think, something that you can develop. I remember the first prep that I ever did. I prepped myself. 2 weeks out, I gave up. Prepped myself, gave up. And then there was an occasion after that where I think we had qualified. This was the first prep that we did together. Qualified for the British finals. I didn't manage to get to the British finals that year. And that was because simply my mindset wasn't in the right place to navigate from one show to another show. So, them sorts of experiences really make you hardened to the point where 2023, I was dieting for 7 months. We actually dieted for 7 months. We dieted from January all the way through to August.
Yeah.
That was a tough prep, but them experiences meant that I could see that through.
Yeah. We've seen it before, just from coaching clients. If you've got long-term clients, either competitors or not, typically the more kind of cycles of the process they've gone through, and almost to an extent, the more hardships, quote unquote, they've faced within that process, the kind of more battle hardened they are in terms of being wiser and just being in a position where what was challenging 2-3 years ago now is just almost something you don't even think about. You don't even process. You just do it by default. Second nature.
Yeah.
And I think from this perspective, from a psychology standpoint, if you can, and it's the same as anything, like in any field, if you want to learn something or get better at something, you go to someone that's done it before at a high level with, that has the expertise and the experience that you want to absorb. And I think in this situation, if you can be aware of the bigger picture of how much this plays a role in the process and how much this plays a role in stepping on stage at your best, and the same thing would go to anything really in terms of delivering your best on, if it was a photo shoot, stage is just even more amplified just because of the pressure and the self-expectation and the perception of what others are going to think when you step on stage, and what happens if I don't win, what happens if I come second caller, what happens if I don't look like I want to look. All those things running in your head. I think that the only real grounding you can have is the level of clarity and kind of level-headedness you have in your own mind, and you've got to create that, because if you look at that from others or social media, it's only going to probably give you less control than more. I think you're in a position where that kind of psychology side is something that you've got to find your your way of managing it and your way of controlling it.
Agreed. No, I think, we've obviously been coaching working together for a long time. I was quite emotional when I first started, my dieting and my prepping. I'd get emotional, whether it be a win, whether it be a loss, there would be a lot of emotion. I think over the years, I've learned to, I would say, suppress that a little bit and think a little bit more objectively, whether it be a negative or whether it be a positive. Sorry, guys, there's someone's at the door. I'm just going to run and get it.
It's all right.
Good.
It's the delivery man. It's like, what's that, Con?
It's a suspect. It's a
pretty
cardboard
sure
box
that's not
just arrived.
Pretty sure that's not on your diet, mate.
Exactly. I can smell dominoes coming through my screen. What's going on? So forget everything we just said about psychological hardship.
Just continue with that last bit.
So I think, it is something that you develop for sure. I think if I look at myself now compared to the person that I was when I won my British title, etc., I am a completely different person, and it's being able to sort of rein that in from a psychological aspect and apply it more logically and more objectively. I guess it might, something that I've learned from yourself. You coach very objectively. It rubs off. So, yeah, that's something I've been able to apply really well. To be honest with you.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think you
can.
Sorry, Go on.
I was going to say, I think it's interesting because I think you can always tell, like, when you speak about experience, it's typically negative experience and hardships, isn't it? That's what you almost, if you're approaching someone they have experience, that's almost what you want to see. You kind of want to see they've had a difficult situation they've been able to learn from, because it's really easy to tell when someone's avoided those difficult situations. And if that's almost like a constant cycle where it's like, oh, something difficult came up and I avoided it. You do it again, it almost becomes the obvious choice that person makes, rather than that point of being like, actually, I'm going to put myself in something that's going to really be difficult or painful or whatever it might be. But then that's the thing that 6 months down the line, you kind of like, actually, I'm very glad that I did that, because it sucked at the time, but X amount of time down the line, it's like, well, at least I was able to learn from it.
I think the one thing that I think is, the more difficult the process, the greater the reward, the better the feeling. There was no better feeling for me than winning my pro card, because the process was, for me personally, so difficult.
Yeah.
Going through them rounds, taking the wins, taking the losses. 3 pro card attempts, 3 losses, 1 narrow loss, etc. That made everything so much sweeter. So it is definitely the hardship that it makes you, for sure.
100%. 100%. It's like it's the joy of the journey, isn't it? The difficult parts, because then you celebrate those. Imagine how boring life would be if everything was just given to you on a platter, like handed to you. You get no satisfaction from anything, because you might get the end result, but you wouldn't get anything on the way, and you kind of get to a stage where like, was this worth it?
I wouldn't want anything any other way.
Yeah,
it molds you into the person that you are. You build resilience from it. You build character. You learn what's right and what's wrong. Hardships, making mistakes. It all makes you into the person that you are. If you're given everything, and and your parents tell you that you're perfect and you can't, everything you do is right, sort of person are you going to be?
Yeah, 100%.
Sure,
I think about like the last 30 years of my life. The stuff I remember is obviously it's the good bits, but it's the difficult bits that actually made you grow. Whether it's like personal stuff, whether it's professional stuff, whether it's career stuff. I kind of think those moments where you're absolutely shitting yourself. You're like, why am I here?
Yep.
What that then leads to is like, right, that's what I wanted. But you have to put yourself in that place.
Accept that. There is
100%.
That shit does not discriminate against anybody, whether you're a millionaire, whether you're a fucking footballer, whether you're a coach like us, whatever. You've got to accept that hardship is a part of life and grow from it. Simple as that. Granted, there are going to be people that go through things way, way worse than what we could imagine going through, for sure. But accept it and grow from it. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Learn from it.
I think back to I remember when I was 21. This is one of those moments that I think back on where it's like that perfect kind of example of it. Where I was 21, I got the train down to London for a job interview at UP, and I was on the train going in, and it was a 30-minute train, like the last one. And I was sitting there the whole time. I was like, I'm going to be sick on this train because I was so nervous to go in for this interview. And you know when you got like every fibre you've been, it's like just get off the train. Like no one's going to know. If you just don't show up, you don't turn up to the interview. Like you mean nothing to them. And I rode it out for this half an hour. And then obviously like over the years, like working there, got me in contact with Cal. Right, perfect. That gave me experience, which led me to this. Da, 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 da. And I kind of think back, that was 10 years ago now. But if I'd have got off the train, who knows where I'd be. Like it'd be a completely different story. But it's that moment of like, what do I do?
Left and right moments, isn't it?
Exactly. Now here we are.
The thing I'd say with the biggest thing I think, and this is going to be a little bit stoic, but the biggest thing I think from an athlete's perspective that will change you for the better and will be like the penny drop moment. And this is really apparent for amateurs trying to turn pro, and to an extent, you know, people in the IFBB like Con now that are going to go on their journey to qualifying for their first Olympia and becoming an Olympian. But even more so apparent for that NPC to IFBB journey, however long it takes. Especially like, for example, you like 3 pro qualifiers, 3 chances, you know, 3, you know, levels of relative failure that we had to deal with after that, regroup, recalibrate, and go again. I think if you're going to be the best athlete you can be and have the ability to stay in this game for a long period of time, the best thing you can do is understand and realize that you have got to learn how to lose before you can learn how to win. And that then sets you up for the rest of the journey, because if you can find clarity in the moments where you get knocked down, it will be very easy to find the moments that you get pushed forwards and you get what you want. Because most athletes, when they are met with that first little pushback, that first little slap, you know, that first little punch in the face where it's like, fuck, you know, I've worked my bollocks off and I've not done what I said I'd do. I've not done what I knew I'd be capable of doing. Yeah, that's where most people will self-sabotage. That's why most people will fall off the tracks for a couple of weeks. That's where most people will be like, do I even want to do this? And it's just one moment. And you can see from your season, you know, one moment doesn't define a contest prep. You know, the true athlete overall loss where I was 100% adamant you were going to win the overall because I was fucking giving the overall sword away. And he was like, oh, they've asked me to give it away, so I know he's going to win this. And they said the other bloke's name, and I was like, what? I was like, I had to fake smile on stage, like, oh, great.
So that's still the greatest picture ever as well. Not for that context, but Cal with the fakest smile in the world.
Those moments are the ones where it's like, if you can, you know, be courteous, be the professional, be the sportsman in that situation, shake hands, smile, say thank you, get back off stage, you take your medal off, you put it in your bag, and you go, right, regroup, what's next? What are we doing next? Because there are a lot of people that get off stage, they take the medal off, they throw it on the floor, they go and sulk. And that is the kind of athlete that will never get anywhere in this sport, I can guarantee you.
I think how you hold yourself in defeat, because there will be a lot, there will be many, is really, really important. Like you've just said, I think you've just nailed it, mate. I mean, I did get off stage and have a cry, but it weren't sulking.
That's part of it.
I was hurt.
It's just emotions.
Heart was hurt. But yeah, for sure. You go and I went and congratulated Max. You know,
Max
and we crack on. You know, we go again. Simple as that. I think it's really important, like, to be able to sort of, before this topic of failure here is really, it's really important. Beforehand, you've got to accept with everything you've got that you are going to fail at times. Callum, you've failed at stuff. Alex, you've failed at stuff. I've failed at stuff, and we'll continue failing at stuff. But we all know that that's going to happen. Cool, it's fine, all good. Sucks, but it's okay. It's part of succeeding. And then after, this is what I've really learned to be able to do. The next day, it's done. See you later. Goodbye. Forgotten about. I'm on the way.
Yeah.
I box shit off so quickly now I could strip it down to stepping on the scales, right? Let's say in your mind you want £2 loss for this week, right? You only get £1. Once I step off them scales, that's it. It's done.
Yeah.
Done. Over. I ain't letting that shit affect me for 1 second. I've got shit to do. You know, I've got goals to hit. I ain't dwelling on that £1 that I missed, or that trophy that I missed, or, you know, it's done. And that's what the real top elite athletes can do. They take the losses, they box it, and it's gone. Yeah. And that's what I've learned to be able to do. And I'm in a much better headspace for that.
Yeah. Yeah, the more you carry the weight of things that you can no longer control, the less control you have.
You can't carry it. Don't carry it. Let it go. Crack on.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's something that I've learned. Really helped
100%.
me.
And that really applies to everything in life, really.
Yeah, for sure.
Everything in life.
Sure. Honestly, mate, being in a good headspace is so underrated. You know, so fucking underrated. And it's not just in bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Just having that right mindset it just makes you happier.
Yeah. And
it makes you perform better.
It'll end up reflecting in everything in that situation.
Exactly.
It'll end up reflecting in everything. And like that is also something that, as selfish as it sounds sometimes, you've got to also protect that and know. Does that make sense? You've got to protect your ability to remain in a position where it's like, I know I operate my best and I'm the best person I can be in this mindset. And anybody in my life that tries to challenge that or change that can no longer be in my life.
You're damn right. Yeah. That's a big one. Environment. We talk about it a lot, don't we? You know, putting our clients in the right environment to build muscle, putting our clients in the right environment to drop body fat, etc., etc. But it's actually putting your client, putting yourself in the right environment to succeed and to, to be the best coach you can be, the best dad in your case, Cal. Fucking super important, mate. I think it's well understated.
Yeah.
I don't think it's talked about enough.
You put that into perspective because we'll have all been there in the past where you've got X amount of clients you've got to do check-ins for, and you wake up and you feel like something's happened where it's like your headspace is just not in the right space, but you've got to speak to 10 people today where it's like, I've got to be the leader and the person that's completely level-headed and in a good spot and the motivator and, the guy that's going to inspire them. But deep down, I feel like shit. Like that is a very hard position to be in when you've got to do that day in, day out. If you're not truly in a position, in a good place in yourself. So, even from a coach's perspective, when so many other people are relying on you for their stability, for their accountability, for their mindset, for where they're at psychologically, like it makes it even more important from your stance to
be in the
make sure that's right.
Yeah. I think
there's only so much time you can put a performance on for, isn't there?
Exactly.
Or it just absolutely just breaks you.
Yeah.
Where if you almost like, even like checking videos, like I know you're doing a loom video and you kind of like, right, I'll build myself up, I'll get myself all set for this. In the first 5 seconds, I'm going to be like enthusiastic, I'm going to be happy. And then you come away from that and you're like, holy shit, like it's not there. And it just sits through the day. Yeah.
What you see is what you get with me. I'm not very good at hiding things. That's just me. So
it's easier. Realistically.
For that day.
Yeah. I've made life's easier that way, isn't it? Realistically, because it's you're being you every single day. You're not being like, I don't know, like a version of content you're trying to project that isn't actually you underneath.
That you're putting on,
it's like social media. Like, think how many people do we know that on social media are a particular way, and then you see them in person, they're complete opposite. But they're almost like living this pretend life that's not actually them, and you're like, well, that's why you're miserable, because you're not that. You're not that person. Be you.
That takes too much emotional energy for me. I just can't do it. I've tried. I just can't do that. As soon as you see me, you're going to know whether I'm in a good headspace or a bad headspace. Simple as that. and that's it.
No, it saves me second guessing. But I bet you've probably had a lot of situations in the past where, I don't know, maybe you've known someone or like coached someone online, and you met them in person for the first time, and they probably thought or said to you, "Oh, you're exactly how I thought you would be." Rather than the opposite. Most people are like, "Oh, you're different to how I thought you're going to be." This is strange.
Yeah, I think so. I try and always get my personality across on social media as much as possible. I think people have got maybe a slightly skewed impression of me. Maybe I'm quite intense. We were speaking about this on another podcast. I do come across quite intense, quite deep, but I can have a laugh and I can have a joke. You know, I am funny at times, not when I want to be, but just sometimes because I am. You know, people very rarely see that side of me. They see the professional side a lot, because that's how I like to operate as a bodybuilder and as a coach. But you know, there is the side that has so many different facets to me, so many different. Bodybuilding and coaching makes up this tiny, tiny amount, and that's what I'm letting you see. People that really know me know that there's so much more. You know?
Yeah.
Levels of con. Yeah,
I think that's important though. You gotta reserve a little bit back, haven't you, for the people that love you and you love them. You know, you got to hold a little bit back. Can't give everything to just Instagram, can you?
No, mate, even not just Instagram, just day to day.
Yeah,
I got this. I can't remember. I listened to a podcast. I can't remember what the podcast was, but it was talking about almost wearing different hats. Where, like in my case, it'd be like boyfriend Al or coach Al or friend Al. It's like you can't be the same thing across all of those. So you got to work out which person you're going to be in those different situations.
Yeah.
So, right, which version are they going to get today? Which do I need to be? And then you roll with those. It's all like within reason, isn't it? Again, it's not like putting on a mask and pretending you're something different, but it's like actually, I'm gonna be who I need to be for that person.
Absolutely
Yeah.
not.
It's fascinating, this stuff, I think, as well, because it encompasses everything in life.
It does.
And I think, you know, it'd be interesting if we sat down and had this conversation all of us like 10 years ago with significantly less life experience and having been through so much different stuff. We probably wouldn't even be able to have a conversation about it because you'd be like, well, I don't know. You kind of get to this sort of age now where you've been through enough where you're like, actually, yeah, I get it.
When me and Cal first started working together, my perception of you, Callum, was completely different to what it is now. Completely different. Even for the first 2 or 3 years, you know, I only ever saw the professional side, the coach. Now I've seen all sides.
Yeah, you used to like him.
I was a human being now.
I used to like him. I used to think he was a nice bloke, and then I've got to know him.
He's a prick, right? Yeah, no, it's true. It's true.
Yeah, it's good, man.
It's true.
Yeah, all you got to do is get drunk with Cal once, and then you're in.
Yeah,
that's the way to do it. We'll play golf with him now.
Well,
we'll play golf.
I mean, we slept in a bed together.
We've done that a few times actually. We've done that a few times. And Connor basically spent the entire night. Connor spent the entire night just waking up for a piss while I was counting how many times he'd gone for a piss.
or snoring.
Or snoring.
Yeah, that was good, man.
Right, cool. All right. Closing thoughts. Why should, in a nutshell, why should people opt in and have a look at the content coming and get involved? And it's free, by the way, so you've got no obligation to pay for it as well.
Yeah, like I say, I think for anybody watching this podcast, you know, the 30 minutes, the 40 minutes that we've just discussed there is just, it's really scratching the surface. But ultimately, your mindset and your psychology is going to underpin everything that you and your coach discuss in terms of PEDs, in terms of nutrition, in terms of training, all the applications that you can apply up here. Your mindset towards that is going to underpin everything. So it's vital. It's vital that you get it right.
100%. 100%. Closing thoughts, Al? Closing thoughts from you down under?
I'm just saying upside down. I always think you don't realize how important psychology is until it goes wrong. Like with all this sort of stuff. It's one of those kind of situations where you don't realize how much it could impact things until either you get to a good or a bad headspace. Like if you've never experienced a negative headspace before, you don't realize how rough that can be. If you've never experienced a positive one, you don't realize how much better you can feel. So it's one of those ones that I think it's always worth exploring, even if people don't realize it's an issue. So no, we will worth a download.
That's spot on, Al. I think looking back now, when I was struggling with with my mental health, I was making life so much more difficult for myself. And I changed that psychology. Specifically, we're talking about prep now, but like you say, this can apply to everything. Life is so much easier. So much easier. So, you know, it says a lot, really.
You can do it on the bad days. Wonder what you do on the good days.
For sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Closing thoughts, Cal?
No, I fully agree. I think it's this is the beyond the other intricacies. Ultimately, especially for a first timer, but even for a season pro, this is the make or break that will either allow you to deliver your best you on stage, or you'll crumble within the process before you get there in the first place. So I think the deeper your level of understanding on this side, the better your application in prep and off season, to be honest, but prep especially will be in the first place. So
I think we can do off season in a
we can do another one. We can do another one. But the irony is, like, one thing I'll close with is Kira's boyfriend Max was in FLF the other day, and we were chatting, and Niall was there training with me, and he said, "Oh, you know, I've been super impressed with Niall's progress and this and that, and how he's come on, and his potential, etc. moving forward." And he was like, "You must have done some crazy stuff with him." But I just said the reality is with athletes like that, like, he will respond to pretty much anything you give him as long as he applies himself to 100% of his ability. And I said the progress that he's made in the last 2 years is not some kind of voodoo magic protocol. It's just him in a position where he's able to get the absolute most out of himself. And once that paradigm shifts with his mindset, he's like, oh wow, like, I'm actually capable of a lot more than I thought I was before, and I can apply myself a lot more. And ultimately, like, for guys like that have even the most elite level of genetics, a lot of the stuff that you see when they start making leaps and bounds of progress is not the diet, is not the training, is not their PEDs. It's just the mindset just finally shifting into place where it hasn't been there for years and years and years. And once that mindset starts to shift, then you just take the shackles off someone, and you just allow them to just move at a rate they've never moved before.
Yeah, so true, so true.
Amen.
So yeah, episode wrapped up, guys. Thank you for listening. We will be back next week. Cheers for tuning in, boys. I'll put the links for everyone's socials, etc., and the new resource coming on mastering client psychology in contest prep in the bio below. And I'll speak to you soon.
Peace out.
See you later.
There you go.